Good afternoon and welcome back to Coffee on the Coast. I'm your host today, Tina Prigge. I am delighted to be joined by Therese Horstketter from the award-winning Manitowoc Public Library because it means we get to talk about books. Therese, I'm so excited to see you back on the show. Welcome.
Oh, books are good all the time. We could talk all day.
And I really enjoyed the recommendations. I looked through the books that you're going to talk to us about today. I've already put a hold on some of them so I can listen to them on audiobook. And so let's just jump right in because every time we have this awesome discussion, you leave us with great recommendations. And I'm always chomping on the bit to dive right into a new book. So you sent us 5 recommendations today. The one that's on the screen, that's on the right, actually has a Wisconsin connection. So tell us a little bit about the Kindred Spirit Supper Club by Amy Reichert.
Okay. Well, first of all, Amy Reichert is a Manitowoc native.
What?
And yes, so she has written, this is her 5th book that is set in Wisconsin. The Coincidence of Coconut Cake was set in Milwaukee. That was her very first book, and it was really well received. And she's had 3 others. They all kind of there was Simplicity of Cider, Love, Luck, and Lemon Pie. So they had kind of that food thing going with them. Now this one is the Kindred Spirit Supper Club is about, it's a romantic comedy with a supernatural twist is the way it's listed. I haven't read it at all. It involves the main character is Sabrina. It's set in the Wisconsin Dells area. And the supernatural part is that the women in Sabrina's family see spirits. It doesn't go into more to see how involved they get with the spirits, but they at least see spirits. And it said Sabrina had a friendly ghost when she was growing up named Molly. So that was with her through a good part of her childhood.
Interesting. And so it does say it's a novel, so this is not necessarily based on a true story.
But I think it sounds a lot of fun. I like that the name Sabrina is in there, having to do with spirits. It just seems kind of fitting. And the Wisconsin settings, you will really feel like you can identify where this is taking place. It's kind of a neat feeling to have those settings. And I know when she did the book in Milwaukee, the very first one, you would recognize a lot of, they had restaurant names and, Brewers Game and things like that. So her books are really fun for that fact, and they're also good reads.
Wow, that's awesome. And how special that there's that actual Manitowoc connection too. So I knew that there was a Wisconsin connection, but I didn't realize it was really close to home. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it is. I worked with her mom years ago, and so she had kept me updated as she was starting to write. So that was fun. And she finally came running in the library one day with a bookmark and said, her book is being published. So, it's really nice to have that tie-in with something local, with the person and with the settings that she uses.
Yeah, that is delightful. And it is nice to know that the Wisconsin references are from a local's perspective. Sometimes when you see Wisconsin referred to in a movie or something else, you can tell that the person is maybe referencing Milwaukee, but has never set foot anywhere near Milwaukee. So
it'll give you a good feeling when you read them.
Now, I know, Therese, that you really enjoy like mysteries and suspense and thriller. Does the Kindred Spirit Supper Club kind of fit into that category with the supernatural or not necessarily?
I think more so I'm reading it because it's another book by Amy, and also doesn't hurt that it has that little bit in it, with the little supernatural thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looking forward to reading something with that little bit different than she's used in the past.
Very cool. And is this available at the Manitowoc Public Library? Somebody can put a hold on it or check it out?
Yes, it is. I just put a hold on it a week ago or so. And so, I was happy to see a new one out by her.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Well, let's talk about The Unkindness of Ravens by M.E. Hilliard. So this one is pictured here on the left. And I think you said that this is a brand new, like a debut novel in a series.
Right. It lists as a debut novel, first in a series for her. And Actually, I hope it's her. I forgot to look at the author's picture, but I'm thinking now that I'm saying that. I'm about 2/3 of the way through the book. It is rather fun in that um, she is a little bit, you get, Greer is the librarian that is the central character here. And there is a murder in her library. And part that is fun is with it being set, it is really feeling like you could be at our library. And the way she talks about the different departments people work in and patrons that come in, and it is just, it's a fun read for that reason. It is a lighter mystery. It is not anything gory. And there is a murder right in the beginning. So she has always loved murder mysteries. In fact, it starts out with her talking about like Trixie Belden and Nancy Drew. And so this, of course, starts her on trying to solve this, even though the police department isn't looking for her help really. But so she's trying to solve this. And yeah, it's set in Ravencroft is the family that donated this old house, and that is where the library is. So it has a lot of little rooms, and it's been partly remodeled, but it's still partly an old kind of Gothic, is the way I picture it in my head, mansion from years ago. The city is called, or town that she lives in is called Raven Hill. And the Unkindness of Ravens, I just learned this in the past half year. So if you have a herd of buffalo or the murder of crows where it describes a group for an animal, Unkindness of Ravens is a group of ravens.
It's called an unkindness?
Right. I had
Oh,
just learned that, and then here this book popped up. So that was rather fun, to find out. Yeah.
I had no idea. I've never heard that designation before. Wow, we just learned something new. Thank you.
Fun. I thought, oh, I meant to read this after I just saw the cover of it. So yeah.
And I think you mentioned to me that it's kind of a cozy mystery or thriller, right? The fact that it's not terrifying, it's not going to keep you up at night or like fretting.
Right. And I think she has a little bit, just the little asides that are in her mind as she is narrating the book, are good. They're kind of a little lighthearted, sometimes a little smucky, just what she's yes, instead of just what's right out there for us. And so that, yeah, it adds to the book too.
Nice. So on the cover, under the title, it says a Greer Hogan mystery. So what you said then is that Greer Hogan is actually the librarian that's featured in the book.
Right. She is the librarian. That's the center character.
So then do you think that the future books that you mentioned that might be part of this series all
I
involve Greer Hogan?
Yeah,
And
I think so. When it said, all I saw was that it said first in a series. So yeah, I'm hoping for more. I haven't gotten to the end. I hope it'll be a good ending, however it works its way around. But
neat. You know what? I do hope it's a good ending. I was just listening to an audiobook called Nine Perfect Strangers,
oh,
and it's set in Australia. And so it was read in this gorgeous Australian accent. So it was a really enjoyable story to listen to until three-quarters of the way through. And then the story just took this weird ball turn that I wasn't expecting.
yeah,
And it seemed completely unnecessary. It wrapped up in such a bizarre way. I was like, huh. So I had liked it for like 75%. And then I was just like, ah.
or when I've had books where they end suddenly. I mean, and it's like, well, you would thought there was more to it, you know? Yeah. It's like they didn't know quite how to wrap it up and just, there, we'll be done there.
Sending to the publisher now. Yeah. Well, good. Well, I hope Unkindness of Ravens has a good ending. And so we were saying that's kind of a gentle mystery, not
Right,
too terrifying,
right.
unlike some of the books that come from Stephen King. So now what you've got here is a book called Later, and it says it's a new novel from Stephen King. Even this cover looks very retro. You said it is a new story. Tell us about this. Is this a terrifying Stephen King, or is this more of a,
It
an easygoing Stephen King?
It is not terrifying, except a little bit for the main character, Jamie, who is a young, just going into his teens at the beginning of the book. Um, and he lives with his mom. She's a single mom, and he manages to see dead people for a short amount of time after they pass away, which is the Stephen Kingest part of it, I guess, the way to say that. But when you do look, it looks like a real throwback book. Um, they are, the covers are designed to go with, if you see the little bookmark up right next to the title, the hard case crime novels, there
Oh,
are
yes.
quite, they are hard case crime novel. There are quite a few authors who actually contribute. It's not a series, but within this same kind of throwback look. And
Oh.
they had a list in the front of this book that listed other authors you would be familiar with that wrote contributing books to this, the same style, I guess. But they are set in, this one was set rather in like 2000 to the 2010s. And um, so it really is a fairly current book. Not that it's set back quite the way you would see it there. But you know how the old crime novels just had those different looks to them. And so that's where these just are originating and following, I guess.
Interesting. So that hard case crime, that little bookmark designation, isn't specific to Stephen King. It's
Right.
kind of a little subset or genre that multiple authors have contributed to. It's a certain style of book.
And he has two previous books like this also, Joyland and The Colorado Kid. So they're traditional Stephen King, but then again, Stephen King goes off in other directions. He's not always completely scary, but so that's kind of the King twist with it, is Jamie's ability in the book, and
Mm.
the ways that it comes into play are, uh, it's a little heartbreaking and a little funny with the communications he has with these dead people. And so, yeah, it's, without saying too much more about it,
Nice.
there are really good moments in it. I thought it was a good book overall.
Okay, that's awesome. And I'm happy to hear that because, a long time ago, I had read Stephen King, It, and that left me terrified for just a long time,
Well,
and I just don't want to walk around with that sense of fear.
I think Salem's Lot, the vampire one, was probably the scariest one for me. And also, as I kind of mentioned before that, I was reading a book in bed one time, and he had a preface to the book talking about how scary books can be. And if you're sitting in bed, you have to wonder if you can make it to the door before something grabs your bed. So that, I don't remember what book it was in, but yeah, so that was just, the preface to the book before the story ever got started.
And so this Stephen King book, this book that we're talking about later, is not that genre at all.
No, nope. It's a good read. It has its moments of, I think, more that you feel for this young boy, and working through some of these things. And also it's a family drama involved in it, and it has a good story to it.
Neat. Okay, good. Well, thank you for bringing that up. I'm looking forward to that one. So now the Stephen King one has spirits. The first one we talked about, the Kindred Spirits Supper Club you mentioned, has spirits. Were there spirits in the Unkindness of Ravens in that library that we should know about too? Is
I
that the
I
thread of cohesion?
don't know that there's really spirits. I think she's the old house itself, because you can picture the noises and things that there would be when you are alone in this great big building and you've just found a murder victim, the day before. So, there's that kind of thing to it. But so far, not, like I said, I'm not quite done with it. But yeah, now, no spirits appearing yet.
Nice. Now, I read the blurb on this book, Every Vow You Break by Peter Swanson. I've already put a hold on it because it sounds pretty intriguing. Tell us about the little conundrum of this story.
Hey, Abigail is our main character, and she is engaged to Bruce Lamb, a successful businessman. But the one thing about it is that it always seems a little vague as to what he really does. And then, but she's just, she's married to or getting married to this well-to-do man, and she feels comfortable with it. Well, he arranges for a bachelorette weekend for her and her bridesmaids to get away before, and while she is there, she has a one-night stand with a guy that she meets. Um, so she still is, after this is said and done, she is thinking it over, like, am I really doing the right thing? And decides, yes, I am. I'm going forward with this. I'm not going to say anything. It's done. It's behind me. And then the guy shows up where she lives right before her wedding. And she sees him in one spot and kind of does a double take and can't believe she's seeing him. I don't remember exactly where the bachelorette party took place, but it was quite a ways away from where they lived.
So
So,
it would be extremely coincidental for him to just randomly cross her paths.
and then after that, he actually just calls her and contacts her. And so she is trying to fend him off that this can't be happening. It was a one night stand and we're done. So it goes from there. They get married and then they go on their honeymoon, and that's where some things happen. that
So when she sees him again, she doesn't think, oh, you were the right choice, and tries to get together with him. She still proceeds with marrying the original guy.
Right. And
Oh, how complicated.
its own special little things that take place without giving any much away there. And so yeah, it just kind of continues with the strain she has um, from this gentleman contacting her. And um, so yeah, this one I guess is suspense. It takes a little different turn than you may expect. And so overall,
Were you
with
able to predict it as you read it, or did it keep you guessing?
I think the thing is, my clue with some of it was, like I said, she doesn't seem to really explain what her husband does. And yeah, so that kind of follows through with another part of it after they're married. That there's,
Interesting.
yeah, a bit of a mystery there.
So
As to,
this book we're talking about is Every Vow You Break. It's interesting because it says the lies started with I do.
this one, now you, oh, I think the last time we talked about the kind worth killing, uh, and Peter Swanson wrote that one.
Oh, that's the same author. Oh, yeah. The kind worth killing was really intriguing.
Yeah,
It did not unfold in any way like you could
no,
expect.
oh, not at all.
Um, and it was hard to know who is the protagonist in the story.
Yeah,
You know, and you end up you're rooting for the person that, you know, if you really break it down, should you be rooting for this person? But
right.
really, probably yes. You know, it's
We had actually, during the book discussion for that one, we actually had someone really cheering for the worst person in the book. But that happens. You each pick your characters, and you stay attached to them sometimes, even if they turn out to not be the character you expected.
yeah.
So,
It
but
really reveals so many shades of gray. You know, there's nothing just black and white that it's, you know,
right. But yeah, so he's written several that are good books now, and a couple that I think are older that I never read, but I just started reading with The Kind Worth Killing. So yeah,
Well,
He's
that was a good book. So I was already looking forward to Every Vow You Break, and I didn't realize why his name sounded familiar. But oh, now I'm extra excited. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a good read.
I hope so. I hope you enjoy it.
All right, are you ready to tell us about one of your favorite books? So, viewers, Therese gave us 5 book recommendations today. We're about to get to the 5th one, and she said that this is one of her favorites, not just her favorite of the 5 today, but one of her favorites. So, that book is The Husband's Secret by Leanne Moriarty. Tell us about this book, Therese.
Okay. The Husband's Secret starts out with Cecilia looking for something in the attic. And she comes across a little envelope with her husband's writing on, and it says to be opened upon my death. And she decides her husband is only away from the house, he's not gone. And she decides to open it now, which I think most people probably would want to do when you find something like that. And it does reveal a very hideous secret from just in the past few years. So in there, and um, it ends up kind of going down the line that this person involves that person, and then unfortunately that one gets involved. And so there's quite a flow of what happens from her finding this note. And her husband, she does eventually talk to her husband about it, but is not going to reveal the secret to anyone else. And it still manages just by behaviors. So many people get involved, numerous people get hurt. It is just, it's definitely a, I would say a thriller and drama are the biggest parts of it. You're not going to find really lighthearted anything in this one, but like I said, it's one of my favorites. Leanne Moriarty also wrote The Hypnotist Love Story. She wrote Big Little Lies, which was actually a miniseries on HBO, I think. And so I think she has had some very good books along the way.
So she's a good storyteller, it sounds like.
So,
No, it's funny because you said it's not lighthearted at all, but when you look at this cover, doesn't it look like it might be, it's got this pretty pink flower, but I guess, is it maybe exploding?
I think that's more so there. And it's funny because her other one, or the next one, I think Big Little Lies was her next one. And that's another one too, where you have all these different couples and families involved, and just how things roll from one to another, disturbing whatever peace they had, or putting doubts in minds as to other things that are taking place. So yeah, it's a good involved book. And yeah, it's set in Australia, but I can't say that, maybe listening to it then it would be different, but that didn't have a lot to do with it for me. Just, it was really just a good book.
It's interesting. It sounds like one of those stories that a reader would ask themselves, what would I do in this situation? Right? Like if you found this envelope, what would you do? And I imagine when she read it, the way you described it, it sounds like she would have been crushed and had a big decision to decide what to do next.
Yeah. And so that was, and it's one of those that finally, I love when you read a book or see a movie like this, where they tie things up at the end. There will be like just those few moments that you go, oh, that happened, or yeah. So it has some of that to it. But
So it sounds like her husband did something odious or horrible
mhm,
and wasn't expecting for it to be revealed until after his death. The
right,
fact that it's revealed before his death, does he have a chance to make amends or put things to rights? Or anything like that? Or
Actually, we could say he had a chance throughout the book because he confessed this on paper and, for her to find. So once he knows that she knows, he could have. And I think they make the decision together not to say anything.
oh,
That's what other things happen because of that, suspicions from other people about things. And yeah.
oh, I'm super intrigued. What a great selection of books you shared with us today, Therese.
Well, yeah, I hope you like this one too. There's, I think we have there's just too many good writers, but we try to pick a few here, and yeah, there's always too many.
Yeah.
Are a good few. Yeah.
No, I love the fact that you help us comb through the many myriad selections and come up with a few, tasty treats that we could go for right away. And that's also a benefit of having this amazing Manitowoc Public Library, is that if somebody is looking for a recommendation or a genre, they can come in and talk to the librarians, and you will gladly help people find their next selection.
And we have, even just when you walk in the door, we have a staff pick area. So those are things that people felt were worthwhile enough to put out there and say, give it a try. So
Yeah, and for anybody like me that loves consuming audiobooks too, just because I can, wash dishes or, do something at the same time that I'm listening to a book, I've been using the Libby app
okay.
through the Manitowoc Public Library, or it has access to the Manitowoc Public Library collection, and it's so interesting and useful and beneficial. And I'm just letting you know out there, there's a free app called Libby that is a great way to listen to audiobooks.
Right. Right. I think, and they're improving all the time too.
Nice.
Um,
Yeah, and just like using the library, it allows you to put holds, you can search, it allows you to rate your books, so if there's something that you've liked, you can classify it that way. Very
yeah,
beneficial.
it is a nice thing, a nice thing to use. Yes. Um,
Well, Therese, thank you so much for taking the time to talk books with us today. I'm looking forward to digging into some of these selections, and I'm looking forward to next time when you have some more for us.
oh, me too. And May is Mystery Month, so yeah, well,
Excellent.
mysteries anyway. But
And viewers, of course, if you have read any of these books or have some recommendations, feel free to share it in the chat and let us know. We'd love to hear your thoughts.
and if I can say one other thing, be
Oh, yeah.
watching book and our website. We are going to be having a little special event coming up. We'll leave it a mystery for now, but in a couple of days it'll be posted to let you know. So be watching for a contest that we're going to be having in May. And of course, it has to do with books or reading and, and maybe a little photography in there. So keep your eyes open for that.
Very cool. Keep your eyes on the Manitowoc Public Library Facebook page and also their website. And then, of course, join us back here next time. Therese, thank you again so much. Looking forward already to next month.
Oh,
Take care.
you too.